Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your... Is there anything quite as deliciously awkward as when a grown human being unexpectedly, inexplicably, and worst of all, earnestly begins singing in public? I propose that there is not. I've done like 6 videos so far, and I haven't really told you that much about myself. This week, using a little mechanism my wife suggested, I am going to tell you a little bit about the events of my life, but in the context of the song that was popular during that time period. For example, Hey Jude came out the year I was born. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, you were alive in the middle of the Beatles' popularity? Yes, yeah, I was. In fact, when John Lennon died was one of the saddest days of my life. At least since John Wilkes Booth took out Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, I'm old. Anyway, so not much happened over the next few years. At least nothing leaps to mind. But I do remember when I was 4, my sister was doing this cool thing where she was jumping up on the handrail of our porch and she was spinning around and then dropping out dramatically onto her feet. And I thought, I can do that. So I jumped up on, I spun over and I dropped out early and just face planted on the edge of the concrete porch. Ran inside and scared the hell out of my mom because everybody plays the fool sometimes. A while later, I was up in a tree playing with a friend of mine. I fell out and broke my femur because you make me feel like dancing. While I still had the crutches, I was in a department store with my dad and, I felt like, come on, take the money and run. I extended the crutches out really long so that I could get going and pole vault over them through the store. I was going so fast I didn't even see the sign that the floor was wet. Hit it with my crutch took off, my head trebucheted off the display item, and I found myself in an ambulance going to get my head sutured back up. What next? If you leave me now, you take away the very heart of me. Ooh, baby, please don't go, was the year that my parents got divorced. And what else? Oh yeah, Sky Rockets in Flight, Afternoon Delight was the year I started school. Now, those of you who are highly valuable to your trivia night team because you know everything there is to know about vintage popular music are thinking, hang on, Travis, those last 4 songs happened in the same year. And you're right, Travis did have a very busy year. And it wasn't the idea that all that stress I caused with those accidents might have contributed to my parents splitting up never occurred to me until I was writing these jokes for you guys. So, thanks. Nor was that the end of my accidents. I had so many accidents, and I can't even blame it on a handheld electronic device, because we didn't have them yet. I had these awkward conversations where my dad was like, so you were reading a book, huh? Yeah. And you were riding your bike? Yeah. And going off jumps? Yeah, well, it was a really good book. Yeah, well, son, I hope it was, because part of those pages are now permanently embedded in your skin. Yeah. Travis, aren't you going to put a song name to all those accidents? Look, this was the 70s. How many songs do you think we had back then? I said a hip hop, the hippie to the hip hop and you don't stop was the year I found Jesus and got baptized. I dropped out of that after a while too, but in the meanwhile, that got me into a Christian boarding school for high school. At my academy, they taught us basic scholastics as well as things from the Bible, that we're all the children of God, that equality is important, that inclusion is important. They taught this to 240 white boys and girls, 2 Hispanics, and an African-American student. That was the year of ebony and ivory, and ivory, and ivory, and ivory, and ivory, and ivory. For reasons I don't mind talking about, but which I haven't figured out how to make funny, I ended up dropping out of high school. Sweet dreams are made of these. I traveled the world. And then, see, when I was a kid, I really thought I would grow up to be something heroic, you know, a teacher, a preacher, a doctor, a lawyer. Well, not a lawyer, something heroic. But in order to do that, I had to have an education, right? I ended up getting my GED in the year of We Don't Need Another Hero. The GED let me go to college. At this point in time, I had grown my hair really long. It was very thick and lustrous, so I went to college the year of Dude Looks Like a Lady. And I went to school for psychiatry, which I was really fascinated by. But while I was there, I kind of came to terms with some of the issues that I had been struggling with. Also, I wasn't crazy about all the late night conversations I had with my friends about their weird uncle touching them, etc. So I decided to drop out of psychiatry, which is currently actually making, the average pay is $250,000 a year. Yeah. So I dropped out of that the year of don't know what you got till it's gone. Then, a few years later, I got married, committing myself for the rest of my life for the first time. That was the year of I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. And then I decided to move to Alaska and have some wee adventures up there, leaving a lot of people to conclude that I was insane in the membrane, insane in the brain. And have many wee adventures I did. There were different kinds of wee adventures, like when I was snow machining, that's snowmobiling to those of you in the lower 48, for 50 miles I decided to stop and take a break, and as I got my thermos out, I saw over a dozen wolves on the other side of the river watching me pour my coffee. Or the time Tommy jumped over the console of the still moving boat, grabbed his empty gun with one hand, a bullet with the other hand, and shot the distant caribou. When we got to it, we couldn't find the bullet hole. He had shot it right in the nostril. Note to self, don't mess with Tommy. Or the adventure when I was in my own little wooden boat with my 30 horsepower motor boating upriver, and I startled a big grizzly bear on the bank, and it took off galloping like a horse and just left me behind. Those kinds of wee adventures that make you say, whee! And then there's the other kind of wee adventures, like in that very same boat when I was traveling on 8 Mile on Kuskokwim River, where the wind had the waves whipped up, there were white caps, and the wind was trying to grab my boat and flip it over, and the 5 sled dogs I had in the boat with me decided they didn't trust my skill, and they all jumped out of the boat even though they were tied to the side rails. Adventures like the time that I was chasing caribou through the woods, I thought, and came out into a clearing, and it turned out the caribou was a giant brown bear that had stopped running. Those kinds of adventures that make you damn near wee yourself. The years went by, I had lots of adventures, went in and out of relationships, relocated a few times, and then one day, look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. I met this amazing person. We became the best of friends. We spent all our time together doing adventures or going out hiking, exploring, and having deep philosophical conversations. She was so smart and interesting. And I always told all my friends, we're just friends. We're just friends. And they all said, yeah, okay, Travis, let me know when you figure it out. A few years further on, in the year of I kissed a girl and I liked it, we bought a house together. We got married, we had a kid, and I know you're thinking, what, only one song? Well, it was a really busy year. Yeah, but Travis, why that song for those wonderful life experiences? Look, I was really too busy to listen to songs that year. That's the only song I know from that year. And then, a few years ago, I was at an open mic, I got up on stage and I tried stand-up comedy for the first time, and a few people made the horrible mistake of laughing a little bit, and I realized I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. And that brings us up to today. I have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful wife, and I couldn't be more proud of my 13-year-old son. Although I will tell you, I don't always understand what he's doing on the computer. I think it's wonderful that the technology allows these kids to chase their interests in whatever direction it takes them. I mean, when I was a kid, we were all pretty cookie cutter. I remember Friday morning at school, everybody would show up, Nanu, 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 because we had watched Mork and Mindy the night before. So everybody was Nanu, Nanu. Nanu, 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 hey Jude. I do believe we came full circle. I said a hip hop, a hippie, the hippie. That's going to be awkward to watch.